Welcome. Welcome to the Mental Health Warriors. We're so excited to have you today. Here's our preview, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Welcome back. I'm Kai Vidal. I'm a qualified and experienced naturopath and nutritionist with 2 decades of experience. I've worked in both clinical and in corporate, and I've helped people extend their health and happiness way beyond their wildest dreams. In corporate, we've helped all children at an early age to infuse healthy eating habits forever. We've helped parents, we've helped families, and the one takeaway that's most important is that you can make a difference. You can make a difference to your life. You can make a difference to the lives of all the people around you. And then that extends out as well. Our mission here today is if we help one person, helping them to never quit, to release any fears and anxieties that they have around anxiety. Stress and anxiety can play in loops. We'll talk about that a bit more in detail. Now, firstly, what I would like to do is make sure that everyone's comfortable to ask questions here. Write it in the chat. You can write questions in via email, on social media channels. The mental health warriors are all here, kind-hearted people. It's a heart space here. So please reach out to us at any time. Any questions about what I have to say or previous episodes or even future episodes with the mental health warriors, please reach out. We're all here to help you. And what's important about the messaging today and about reaching out is that a lot of people feel nervous about speaking about it. They've never spoken about their emotions and how they're feeling. And it is okay to reach out and help. If you are stuck, please reach out and help. There's so many different services available. There's paid services with coaching, which is great for mindset release and reaching goals. Psychologists are good for trauma. Psychotherapists the same. If there's an issue with budgets at all, every country in this world has a society, a helpline, mental health. If you're not sure, reach out to us. We will find it for you as well. So we're all here to serve and support you. This is a judgment-free zone. There's absolutely no judgment. Even if you think or feel that your perceived problem is unreasonable, it's not. I was recently talking with my daughter. I found it really interesting. She came home from school and said that she felt betrayed. And I said, "Oh, what happened?" And she shared with me that a child at school that had been a good friend for a long time had left her during lunchtime. Now, to us adults, that may not seem significant, but to a child, that is. That's her first encounter of feeling left out or rejection, or, you know, they're young. They don't know how to process all their feelings sometimes. And if this isn't dealt with in childhood, if we haven't received the help and support that we need in childhood, this usually gets taken into our adulthood as well. So what it's really important is for all of us to realize that our thoughts and feelings are not unique. They're not different. So it's really good to have a deep breath, stand back, and ask yourself, what can I do different? What can I do to help myself? Where can I reach out if I'm feeling stuck? And how can we move forward? There's always a plan. There's always a way to move forward. And today, I would like to reach out to some people too that's offered me some support. I've had messages, I've had shares on social media. So to the really special supporters today, I want to thank Marston, Sidkey, Lauren, Marissa, Tracy, Paulina, and especially Denise. Very good people offering support and help. And this is why networks are really important. We may not get, our family may not understand or see our viewpoint. So it's even good to reach out and have a little community, build your own community, design your own community, be the community that you would like to see in this world. And we want to really open this conversation. So we're breaking down the barriers, we're making everyone comfortable. We don't want anyone to feel little or big or small or their problems are insignificant. There's none of that here. It's all open conversation, open-aired, and judgment-free. And it's the same if you're in clinic. Everything's judgment-free, everything's personal. So if you'd like to ask a question, do reach out to us. Or if you'd like a private question, send us a private email too. Now, what we really want to get to the core of today is stress and anxiety. My specialist as a naturopath is treating the gut. Most people have had stomach, intestinal, digestive issues over the years. Now, there's an important connection between our brain and our stomachs, and that's directly from our vagus nerves and our nervous system. So our brain is there to send signals to the rest of our body. This all happens autonomously without our thinking. So with the vagus nerves, it is controlling our digestion and our stress response. And what's really interesting about this is that when we feel stressed, if we're in a really dangerous system and it's a self-survival mechanism that our ancestors had many hundreds and thousands of years ago. So the stress response and adrenaline being released helps us run from a lion. So if there's a lion coming for us, that stress and that adrenaline, and you will feel that rush. Now that's what we call a physical stress response. So that is your flight, where you run from that lion and hopefully you can outdo it. You fight. If it's too close, you might try to protect yourself with a stick. Some people get so overwhelmed that they freeze. And that's your physical responses. But in this day and age, people quite often ask, like, we're not under threat as such. Very often, like, things do happen, unfortunately, occasionally, not as often as when we lived hundreds of years ago. But what's causing the issues now? Why have we got stress response? Well, a lot of the stress responses now is from new technologies, from society. There's all different causes, like unresolved traumas from childhood still creeping back up. Us reacting to things that have happened in the past and we see them as a threat that we want to avoid now. Now, there's also three other responses that we have to stress, and that's feign. So we're pretending that it's not happening. We're turning a blind eye and it's not happening at all. Other responses is fawn, where we please, appease, and pacify other people's response as well. So this comes into your people pleasers, and that comes usually from conditioning from society, parents. Now, what we're doing in our feign or fawn is that's a survival mechanism that we've taken on board ourselves to try to reduce our stress. Now, people ask why they are doing this. There can be a whole ton of reasons. As again, there's no shame of why we're doing things, but it's important to realize when we're feeling this manner. If we're in any type of the adrenaline style phases, the flight, fight, freeze, even the emotional ones, the freeze and the fawn, that cuts off our nervous system. And what that's doing is when we're under stress, we don't want to be eating at that time. So our digestion system gets shut down. When our digestive system is shut down, we're not if you try to eat, just imagine it. If you were running, just say even a bus came past really close to the side of the road and you're trying to cross the road, you would have a small hit of adrenaline. Would you feel hungry in that instance? The answer is no. Would you try to force yourself to eat in that instance? I hope not. If you did, just imagine if you forced food down during that feeling, how would you feel? You would feel sick, bloated. You would feel like you're about to vomit. And that would be your body purging what it doesn't need at that time to keep you safe. So with that in mind, what we need to do is recognize when we're stressed. A lot of people have actually switched off our emotions. So when we're feeling breathless, like if we're taking a gulp, that's quite a good indicator that you're in one of the stress responses. Now, there is a 6 stress response. So I've mentioned the top 5, which is the flight, fight, freeze, fawn, feign. The last one, the 6th one, is freedom. Now, freedom is what we want to create for ourselves, but in a healthy manner. So freedom is different from your feign or your fawn, where you're trying to ignore an issue or please other people so the stress isn't happening. Now, a lot of the fawn happens in relationships, like if there's one irate partner and one really happy partner, and the irate one is constantly belittling a happy-go-lucky person, what happens there is that they try to calm. They're trying to calm the other person. They're trying to not release the other person's triggers. Now, is that healthy? That's something to have a think about. Is it healthy to be appeasing someone that's irate? Would you be better off removing yourself from the situation and explaining it in a calm manner later on? Because this is triggering your digestive system. So every time there's a stress response, every time, even if it's subtle, what we need to do is take a step back, take some breaths, and recenter ourselves. What we need to do is recenter ourselves, wait till we're calm, and then we can deal with the issue. If you're in a desperate, like if you're hurt, yes, you would call an ambulance and you would deal with that all immediately. But if it's an emotional response, you need to calm yourself first. Now, after an emotional response, what's the general feeling? Most people feel heavy afterwards, feel tired afterwards. And that is a normal response. That's when we need to go and give our bodies some rest. That's what our body is asking for. If we feel tired, if we feel drained, that is when we need time out. That's when we need to activate our self-care strategies as well and put that into place. Now, with your digestion, it can work in the opposite manner too. So our digestion, if we haven't looked after our gut health sufficiently, if we're constantly on a diet that's full of sugars, full of salt, full of nasty artificial ingredients, preservatives, takeaway, coffee, stimulants, any form of stimulants, if we're stimulating our digestive system, because there's that vagus nerve that runs from the stomach to the brain and vice versa, we can actually trigger a stress response in our system, which is completely what we want to avoid. Now, I've got some interesting photos for you too. In being a naturopath, we practice iridology, where we look into the iris of the eye. Now, some people think that that's not scientific, yet there has been a lot of studies about it. Now, the same way our nerves are joined from our stomach to our brain, our whole entire nervous system is joined to our brain, and it shows up in our iris of our eyes, which is quite fascinating and amazing. Now, I've got a picture here of a lady, and this was taken in 1980, so very old book, but it's interesting. She had a stressed out nervous system and it showed up in the iris. The naturopath took one look in her eye, and it's like they say, your eyes are your windows to the soul. The eyes really do show up a lot. Now, the naturopathic lady, took a picture of the iris, then did a full case history. And she wasn't surprised to find out that in this instance, in this one here, that the patient was having over a dozen black coffee espressos every single day. Now, this iris here, you can see the pupil in the middle. Now, that's the normal size. That's what it should be. This is the results of drinking a lot of coffee and a lot of stimulants. Now, also what was interesting from the case history, not only was her nervous system overstimulated, she had the digestive issues. She was 25 years old, only 25. So that is a sign your body is screaming out for health. I've seen in clinic myself, I've seen irises where they're two different sides, and that's because there's an imbalance with the body. So one iris is much larger than the other one, and that's out of sync. We've seen them pulsating. Now, pulsating means that that nervous system is in real need of some self-love and care, like fairly quickly too. This picture here will show you what the normal proportions of each sort of system of the body should be in sync. So it gives you an insight into the eye of what's actually going on. So what we eat affects our brain, affects our nervous system. What our nervous system enters in as sensory affects our brain, affects our digestion. So the digestion and our nervous system go hand in hand together. So one can trigger the other and vice versa. So when we're talking about health and nutrition and the effect on stress, we can stress out our own bodies if we're not eating the best quality foods. Now, stimulants, that comes into nicotine, caffeine, Coca-Cola, your coffee. Now, if we're having it in moderation, I wouldn't recommend any sugary drinks in moderation, but if you're under stress, I would avoid coffee. If you're feeling anxiety, I would avoid coffee for a good few days. A coffee should be like a weekend drink, not an everyday drink, if you want to maintain a healthy nervous system. So the effects of caffeine, they actually speed up our digestion, and especially when our food is trying to pass through our small intestines. Now, that's the part that you don't want to speed up, because that's where we're absorbing all the nutrients that we actually need in our life. So that's a form of digestion that you need to slow down. Now, also, if we're lacking in our friendly bacteria, that has an effect on the iris too. Now, when we lack friendly bacteria, what can happen is candida overgrows. So in this picture, which is quite interesting, I'll just try to move it so you can see it. We'll try standing up, it might be easier. So in this picture of the iris here, you can see the brown. Now, in this picture, that's actually an overgrowth of candida. And you can see how the overgrowth is actually, in this picture, the brain's up the top here. The candida is actually spreading up towards the brain. So it's traveling through the system, or the toxins and the byproducts from that. So if we want to have a good, healthy nervous system, we need to be focusing on what we're putting into our system. And also what we need to be wary of is how we're reacting, how we're absorbing into our environments, how we're reacting in our environments, because that then affects the digestion. So this person here, they did present with candida, and it showed up in the iris. Also, how it can show up too is on the tongue. So I will show you these pictures again. You can see geographical marks on this tongue. Now, what's happening in this situation is that their stomach is underactive. So they don't have enough digestive enzymes like your hydrochloric acids to help break down the foods from it when they're exiting the stomach. Also, what's interesting is saliva is a digestive enzyme. So, and saliva actually breaks down all of your carbohydrates, and especially your complex carbohydrates. So when we've been taught from our mothers and grandmothers and grandfathers and everyone that we need to chew our food slowly and 30 times, it's actually true. Saliva is a digestive enzyme. It's helping to break down our carbohydrates, and especially all of the friendly prebiotic bacteria that we need to feed our healthy, friendly bacteria in our own stomachs. Also, another point is, what are we doing when we're eating? Are we sitting relaxed and calm in a nice environment? Or are we rushing? We're eating in a rush and we're rushing? Are we watching the news? I find it fascinating that after all these years, that we still sit there and watch the news. It's not really that positive. We're taking in a lot of negative stories and experience while we're trying to nourish our bodies. So there's a strict rule in my house. There's no news, definitely at meal times, no screen times. Screens actually emit blue light, which actually shuts off part of our nervous system too. So anything we do to our nervous system is affecting our digestive system. Everything we do to our digestive system is affecting our nervous system. So our aim is to remain as calm and quiet as possible throughout all of our meals, and sit down and really, really take a moment. Like, there's something definitely to say for praying for meals too. That's a part of preparing our gut health. So taking that moment out is thank you, being thankful, having the gratitude, and relaxing. That sets a mood. So if we all just rush to the table and just start eating, we haven't actually primed our whole digestive system. And what's good to do, what a good practice is when we have our meals, is to sit down quietly, have our gratitude, however you want to play that out, that's your personal choice. Have our gratitude, absorbing the smells. Smelling your food actually triggers saliva to be produced. Saliva is essential, and that's helping line and prepare everything else. Our hydrochloric acids are all getting ready. Our enzymes are all getting ready to break down our foods. This is all really, really important. So if you want to avoid triggering the nervous system, watch how you're eating. It's how you're eating. It's important what we're eating, but how you're eating as well. And just being calm and relaxed. And, you know, your meal times are in the evenings, are family times. Quite often what I see too in this busy life is that people are having massive, massive dinners at the end of the day, small breakfasts and snacking, grazing throughout the day. That should really be turned around. Having our big breakfast in our morning, that's when our stomachs have relaxed. We've got the ability to break down food. Whereas when we're eating our big meals at the end of the day, you've sort of exhausted a lot of your enzymes as well. At the end, I'm going to give you 5 other tips that are really good to help both your digestive system and your nervous system. So there'll be some really good tips and tricks that you can implement immediately to help stress and anxiety. So the question is how do we get from stress to the feeling of freedom? Because freedom is the 6th stress response, but that can be a choice. But are we bypassing? Are we rushing the process? Are we going, right, I just want the freedom and I'm ignoring everything and I'm failing to deal with the grief and the stress and the anxiety? So it's really important that when we get to our freedom, which is the ultimate goal of stress and anxiety, is to not rush the process, is to take our time. There is no rush. There is no now. There is no time frame. Most concepts in life are invented, like money is invented. Meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's meals. Did we always eat like that? Absolutely not. Cavemen grazed. There was hunters and gatherers. That's how they ate. And they might have even skipped a couple of days. So back 100 years ago, 200 years ago, people did natural fasting according to what was available at the time. So in our modern life, and what I recommend for most people is when they're shopping, that most things in the supermarket, like if you look at a supermarket and look at the shelves, avoid the middle section. It's processed food, it's factory food. It's not the food that we're intended to eat that are high in all of our nutrients and our magnesium. You'll find a lot of magnesium, which is a nervous system relaxant, and we need for our muscle relaxant too. We need it for our heart function, really important. All of our magnesium is in your dark leafy greens. So who here tried to avoid the broccoli as a child? Yeah. Who here tried to avoid the Brussels sprouts, the cabbage, the bok choys, all of your dark green leafy veggies, your nuts and your seeds, really high in magnesium, really good for the nervous system. Now, in regards to stress, what is a good thing? Do you measure your own stress? We don't need to measure it in a sense of mine's higher than anyone else's. We need to do this for ourselves. There need to be a judge. Like, if you had a glass jar and that was your stress inside, where is it sitting? Where is it sitting now? So is your stress sitting at halfway down, like at the bottom? Is your stress sitting halfway, 3/4, or is it full? Is it about to fall out? So what we're going to speak about, the last 5 tips, is how we empty that jar. And this is how we want our jar to be sitting. It's normal to have a little bit of stress, like you have everyday things. I've got responsibilities. I'm an adult. It doesn't mean that we have to avoid our responsibilities. We just get better in life, no matter how much work we do on ourselves. Even if you're the Dalai Lama, you're Tony Robbins, you're still going to have an element of stress in your life. We just get better at dealing with challenges. We can't avoid the challenges. You get better at dealing with the challenges. And that goes for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are in life. Life will always give you a challenge or two. Who here's been stressed? I've been stressed. I felt depressed in my life. There has been sad things that have happened. And there is a big difference between feeling depressed, which is usually short term, and we will recover quite quickly, and depression, which is long term. So with depression and long term, it is very different. The two can't be treated the same. So when we feel depressed, that's usually because there's an event, a sadness. And what's important to do that is accepting again in our grieving process. What I find with clients is that some of them don't know how to feel grief. They feel numb. They're not quite sure about what to do with their grief. And this is where we need to pause and take a moment of, are we trying to suppress our grief? Are we embarrassed of our grief? Do we want to try to hide the grief from the world? You can do it privately. There's nothing wrong with grieving privately if you need to. But it is hardly recommended that you have a support person, at least one support person, one trusted support person. It doesn't have to be a family. It doesn't have to be a partner. It could be a close friend. It could be professional paid. It could be someone from the mental health warriors. But it's really good just to have a support person, just to talk out ideas. You might not be seeing something in the instance. Coaching really helps people to see outside the box. Everyone's map of the world and how the world works is different. and we see things differently. And sometimes just bouncing ideas off other people really helps to give us a clearer, different view of ourselves and the world, and different options that may be available that we're not seeing yet as well. With grief, most people try to suppress it. That doesn't help grief. I saw a post today on social media and it said the longer that you take to admit there's grief and to process the grief, that's usually the longest part. Usually when there's something tragic, it's acceptable to grieve. Now, outside of that, some people have issues. Now, with grief, it's really, really important because this is then affecting our digestion system. When people are sad, they don't feel like eating. They don't feel hungry. And that's why it's important to grieve and recognize it when it's there. So grief needs to be felt. Ask yourself, where am I feeling this? Is it in my head? Is it in my heart? Is it in my gut? Is it in my intestines? Where is the grief? What's coming up? What am I feeling? How am I feeling this? The most beautiful thing in the world is to see people in the vulnerability and letting it go. It is safe to be vulnerable. When I've shown vulnerability, I've had more support than ever in this whole world. People reach out to me from all different parts and say, "You're really amazing." That's really great. I'm really happy you shared that, because I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. If you need any help, if you need any support, if you need just someone to listen, to be heard, to be felt, to be seen, that's the important part. Now, grieving people don't like the messiness of it. I know if I let some tears go, like the whole lot, it's messy. My face is messy. There's tears, there's water, there's mucus. There is no hiding it. It's like opening a floodgate. And when I've been like that, there's always helpful, supportful people. It may not even be where you think from. Letting that go and processing it, honoring it, loving it, letting it go. And you are safe. You are safe and you are not broken. That's the important part to remember. If you feel grief, feel it and know that you're not broken. Everyone's viewpoint is different. What upsets one person may not affect another. How one person feels is not how another person is feeling or thinking about a situation. Where I can guarantee you, you never, ever know what someone is thinking or feeling, what experiences they've had, what's behind these feelings. You never know. You never know. So this is why it's great not to have judgment, because we never understand. And it's technically none of our business unless someone invites us in too. We can offer help and support, but if people don't want to share, that's not for us to pry into it either. So it's accepting what is. So as I said, there's always going to be challenges in your life. Your life is always, generally, most of the time, it's all great, it runs smoothly, but a challenge pops up. What most people put themselves is into self-grief too. It's not accepting what is. There's certain things I can't change. I can't change the roundabout near the school in the morning. That is packed with traffic. I cannot change it. What I can change is how I react to the roundabout in the morning that's packed full of school traffic. So I just sit there, breathe, turn on some music, sing, have a conversation with the beautiful children, enjoy. So it's just saying, what can I do in this moment? What can I be doing for myself? I can't control this. I can't control others. There is so much that is out of our control. And letting that go opens space. It really opens space to let positivity back in. So if we're feeling something negative, if we're causing self-stress, if we're causing self-anxiety, in that space, when we let it go, when we let the frustration go, what can we put there in its space? What can you put in the space? I'm sure we'd all have something that is out of our control today, and that we can change, and we can do a reframe, turn around our own mindsets. Now, uncertainty. That's an interesting one. A lot of clients say, I feel uncertain. In uncertainty, you're actually certain about something. You're certain that there's change. You're certain that there's something different. There is still an element of certainty in uncertainty. And in that moment, when we feel uncertain about something, it's something new. Our muscle, when we go to the gym, we work out, we're working our muscles over and over and over again. We build our muscles. Our emotional muscles are the same as our physical, our bodily muscles. Now, in uncertainty, what we're trying to do is control the situation. Letting go is one element of it. There's many, many, many factors, but letting go, it's coming back to what is again. We can't control everything, but when we're uncertain, there's something new, there's an opportunity for something else. It's just looking outside the box, thinking of something different. Now, we don't need all the answers right now. It's near impossible to find the answers right now. Grieving, yes. Grieving is separate from trying to find all the answers right now. They are two separate theories. So we grieve. We release. When our body needs to purge, we purge. If we have gastro, we need to purge. If there's tears, if there's mucus, we need to purge. And that's really essential. So grieving, you feel it, you purge, you let it out. You may not still have that immediate answer, but once you have grieved, you're opening space for the answers to come back into your life. Now, feel love, release. What I've also been asked about is, where does anxiety come from? Thousands of different reasons. A lot of that is conditioning. That can be from our childhoods, schooling, teachers, peers, bullying, parents. Now, what's important to know is that we're all doing our best. Everyone is doing their best. We're all working hard. Now, our relatives and peers and family and friends, they are only acting from a place of what they know, what's available to them. So a lot of the time when we think something may have been done out of malice, it's quite often not. So we really need to step back and just calm ourselves, take some deep breaths, and ask ourselves, do they really mean that? Was that really meant in that way? Or are they just coming from a space of that's just what they know? They haven't seen anything different. Like, I know, for example, like a lot of elderly grandparents grew up in the war, and children should be seen and not heard. And, there's not enough food to go around, and you don't spend any money, and you save everything. That's conditioned. That was conditioned into them, their childhoods. Their parents were doing the best they could. A lot of families, the husband was literally out at war. Mum made a single mother. There wasn't enough money. There wasn't enough food. There wasn't clothes. There wasn't TV. There wasn't 90% of the things that we have available to us now. And some of those things are better off out of our lives, which would be amazing too. So when our grandparents are saying you should be saving every penny and money doesn't grow on trees, they're not actually coming from a place of meanness. That was conditioned. So it's really good just to see and even ask people, what's that about? Tell me more. Let me understand what you're feeling or thinking about that one. And asking questions, just asking polite, calm questions, gives you an insight into some of the nonsensical things we've been told over our life. Now we're out. The best part, I am now going to give you instant tips other than food and food too. I lie. No, I'm going to give you 5 tips now that you can take away, implement today to help relieve your stress and anxiety, get your digestive and your nervous system back into sync together, and your hormonal system, your endocrine system. This syncs everything. Now, the easiest way you can sync all of your systems and reset, body reset, 9 minutes, is what we call rectangular breathing. Now, with our rectangular breathing, we are taking we're taking a short 4-minute breath in, 4-second breath in, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 6, exhaling for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 6. Now that pattern, what that's doing is controlling our lungs. It's calming the nervous system. And when we focus, we're trying to get all the thoughts that pop up in our head, just trying to put them to the side. We will deal with those later. So what we want is to sit down. If you have to sit in a quiet place, that's fine. I've actually trained myself to do this in noise, because if I can do this anywhere, I can calm myself anywhere in any situation, which is really handy in life. So what we do, 9 minutes. You repeat this for 9 minutes. 4, 6, 4, 6. I set a timer and I turn the volume down on my phone. So when the timer goes off, it's not really loud and jarring at the end. And I actually set my timer for 10 minutes just to make sure we've definitely got that 9 minutes in and we've got into a pattern. That's all you need to do to reset your digestive, endocrine, nervous systems right now. You can do that now. I do this every day. If I've got a busy day, I do it twice a day. If I've had an unexpected challenge, I go into my breathing pattern before the ego kicks in. So before my ego even tries to process anything, make some noise up there at will, I calm and I go into my reset pattern. So rectangular breathing, you can even Google it. You'll see it everywhere. I'll actually do a video and I will post it to Facebook as well. And I will go through this process with you. If I have to do it over and over, I will. It amazingly works. And the more you get into the habits of these things, the better you're going to feel long term. What the biggest gift you can give yourself is creating a life that you love and enjoy every single day. So we know we all have to work. We know we've got responsibilities. We do have spare time. How are we using it? Are we watching TV? Are we using our spare time wisely? Can we take some time off something that's not quite a healthy habit and replace it with something that's going to help support us too? So with our breathing, there's your first one. The next one, what I'd say is, instead of hours of TV, take some time out of that. Have an Epsom salt bath. Epsom salts are available in health food shops. You can see them in supermarkets. I recommend the ones from health food shop because they don't have the added aluminium in them, which isn't great for our system. That's like an antagonist to our digestive and nervous systems. So the magnesium, I put that in the bath. I put my essential oils in there and I close the door and I put on some soft yoga music or some rainforest sounds. It's amazing. I could sit in there for a day. Water is actually a cleanser. Cold water is amazing. Most people don't like the idea of that, but you always start warm and go a little bit cold at the end. Have your beach swims in winter. If you're not near the beach, go and find a fresh river, stream, lake. Ocean water is a detoxifier. The salt water, natural salt, not table salt, natural salt helps to draw out the toxins from the skin and the system. So having a big, great swim, most amazing things you can do. I've had allergies my whole life, and I'll show you a picture one day, but I've broken out last year in a huge rash here. Doctors and dermatologists didn't even know what it was. I was concerned that I had scabies or something because I normally treat things, being a naturopath, with my own remedies, but it was nasty. It was red, it was hot, it was angry. Must have been clearing something out. Don't know what. Don't need to know what it was. Anyway, week at swimming in the beach in the middle of June, went away. 1 week. And to this day, I still don't know what it was. And if it ever looks like coming back again, if I get any tiny little dots again, straight back in and it goes. So there's your 3 tips. Your food and your diets. As I said, avoid processed food, your stimulants, your caffeine, your sugars, your table salt, your artificial ingredients. Eat more green drinks, smoothies, fresh fruit. Your supplements that are going to help you. There is amazing herbs. I've had a client in practice once. He had nervous, you could see it. I didn't even need to look in his eyes. He was shaking. He'd been through some stress and traumas at work, and it's understandable with the field of work he was in. We gave him some herbs. It was skullcap, some passion flower, chamomile, oats. We did this big blend of herbs. His stress and anxiety left in about 6 weeks. And I was actually quite surprised. He did everything every day. He did the work. He did the self-care. He looked after himself really well. He went for jogs. You know, he grieved. He actually grieved. And I was so proud of him. Men have been conditioned a lot to not grieve, not feel their feelings, keep them in, be strong. That's why men have more heart attacks, unfortunately, than women in comparison. Men really have some support networks, really help each other. If you're not comfortable talking to men, female practitioners everywhere, we're really understanding. There is so many great practitioners, coaches, psychologists, doctors. There is so much support. There is the mental health warriors. So much support is available for you right now. Also with pampering, there is tons of things. Like there's obviously a lot more for females, like our nails and our hair and our skin and facials, but a lot of men love their facials too. Massages, acupuncture, going for your jog, playing golf, going to the beach, doing some family activities, jogging, running. If you love gym, go to a gym. There is so much available every day. I could write a list of near 100 different things that cost no money. Hiking, sightseeing, doing little day trips, traveling. Every day I incorporate something into my life that I really love. I have a list of things that I love. I don't even need to read it anymore. I think I did just tip it out on the floor out of my stress jar demonstration. Journaling. Now, when I say journal, you need to actually purpose journal. If you want some tips on purposing, send me a message, reach out on social media. There's actually some criteria. Sort of endless ramble isn't that helpful, but there is a way to journal that's actually purposeful and meaningful and will get you to an end result. So I hope all of these tips have helped you ground. So when we're feeling flighty, when we're feeling stressed, anxiety, as soon as it kicks in, if we're feeling depression or sad, ground. That rectangular breathing is perfect for grounding. Oh, remedies too. Forgot to mention your essential fatty acids. Every single cell in your body is covered with a lipid layer. Now, when our bodies are deficient of your healthy fats, your good quality healthy fats, which is your nuts, seeds, and nut oils, that lipid layer is reduced down. Now, our nervous system will be firing. Like if we had just say a live wire and the end was all frayed and the wires exposed, it would zap everything. That's what happens to our system when we're missing our essential fatty acids as well. So your good quality fats, oils, nuts, seeds, they're essential. Your probiotics, which you can get supplements, but you can also get your probiotics from your fresh fruit, the fiber from fresh fruit and veggies. So when we juice, it's important not to have all your fruit and veggies in the juice because the fiber is in the bits that we've chucked out in the juice. So juices in small moderation, we actually need the fiber that's in the fruit and the vegetables. Your probiotics, you will get everywhere. Your yogurts, good quality yogurts at that. Most yogurts on the shelves, and especially 10 years ago, they're a bit better now, but 10 years ago, the yogurts on our shelves were so full of sugar that if an extra teaspoon was added, the yogurt would have been classified a confectionery, the same as McDonald's food. That's why they put the gherkin on the fast food burgers. The gherkin is there to prevent the burger being classified as a confectionery. So next week I can go into a whole different lot of topics. I can pick one, or I'd love all your feedback too. So if there's a topic that you want to know more about, please send us an email, make requests, make suggestions. Let's work on this all together. Sleep. Now, on this last note, sleep. How important is sleep? How important do you think sleep is to your nervous system, to your digestion? All healthy growth and repair happens in our bodies at night when we're at rest. Our digestion is doing a lot of its work at rest. That's why we get up in the morning and first thing we do is go to the toilets. Sleep is essential. Quality sleep is essential. If you're not getting quality sleep, send me an email. Tell me what's happening. We will help you get into a sleep pattern that is healthy, that's going to support your system. Now, any further questions, please reach out. Doesn't matter to who here, the mental health, to myself, whether you want to go and find a professional or a helpline, ask. We're all here to help and serve you. We all love and respect everyone. This is judgment-free. Please reach out, ask for help, even if it's tiny. We start with the small things when they're small, tiny, so they don't grow into bigger things. We don't want to fill the jar. We want to work to keep that jar as close down to near empty as possible all the time. Now, take care. I look forward to speaking with you again in a fortnight. Thank you.